If you are farrowing your pigs on pasture, the most important thing that you can do is select good breeding stock. But all breeding stock is not created equal. I've seen people spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on breeding pigs from Hampshires and Durocs to Mangalitzas and Kuni-Kunis, and oftentimes, these good breeders are not worth a tenth of what people actually pay for them because they are looking for the wrong qualities. I'm Rob from Dowdle Family Farms, and I started raising pigs on pasture several years ago. The only feeder pigs that I could get at the time came from a producer who produced show pigs. Then the first pigs I began farrowing on pasture were Mangalitzas, and that was an absolute debacle. Supposedly, they're great foragers, good mothers, etc., but that's not always the case. When you are looking for good pigs to breed, there are several factors to consider, primarily genetics and epigenetics. Now, genetics and epigenetics play a huge role in breeding programs. Now, at the very beginning, let me say that I'm not the brightest crayon in the box by any stretch of the imagination, nor do I understand DNA and the sciences very well. So take what I'm going to say here with some healthy dose of skepticism and some critical thinking skills. But an animal's genetics are pretty much fixed. Epigenetics, however, are those genes and how those genes are expressed and to what level. It's the practical expression of those genes. So if I'm farrowing a pig on pasture, as much as possible, I want pigs that are bred on pasture, whose sows grazed on cover crops while those pigs were in gestation. I want pigs that function in my system like this, so I start looking for practical traits that I want to build off of. The first thing you need to ask is, what are your goals in terms of a finished pig? Now, I'm raising pastured pigs that should finish out to around 300 to 325 pounds. I want pigs that are good foragers because I'm growing diverse, nutritious cover crops for my pigs. If a sow doesn't fare well on pasture or produce piglets that fare well on pasture, she has no place on my farm. Further, I'm looking for a meat-type hog, not a lard ball that grows slowly. I do want well-marbled meat, but not 4 to 6 inches of back fat. Perhaps the biggest misconception about pastured pigs is that some breeds are better foragers than others. And there may be some general truth in this statement, but it is by no means universal. I've raised pig breeds from American Guinea hogs and Mangalitzas to Chester Whites, Durocs, Herefords, Old Spots, Berkshires, Landraces, Blue Butts, and many others. I've talked with people that had other breeds that are known for foraging like Kuni-Kuni and Idaho pastured pigs. And what I've noticed is that some animals in those breed line programs or in those systems work well and others do not. By no means would I buy a particular breed and think that they're going to be good foragers, especially if they're expensive. Even if you have a seller that claims they're great breeding stock, you don't know what they classify as good breeding stock and if it will work well for your system. Is it because they meet a breed standard? Breed standards are focused on the breeds, not the production quality. And while we need breed standards to help increase those standards, I want pigs that perform well in my system. Further, I want good meat quality pigs. The Berkshires behind me are crossed with Durocs and Hampshires as well, and they forage better than my Mangalitzas did. Further, just because a pig eats grass on pasture doesn't mean that they receive a substantive portion of their nutrition from pasture. People tell me all the time that their pigs eat a lot of grass in pasture. I can eat a lot of grass, and it would be an outstanding diet plan for me, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to put on muscle or that I'm going to be able to grow by eating just grass alone. I often hear that many of these foraging breeds only need 1 pound or 2 or 3 pounds of grain per day, and that they can receive the rest of their nutrition from good forage. And while this may be the case sometimes, what they don't tell you is that they feed that reduced feed for 16 to 24 months. Oftentimes the pigs consume much more grain over an extended period of time. And they're producing a product that weighs 150 pounds rather than 300 pounds. You need to pay attention to the meat to grain ratio. Now, my goal here is not to bash people that raise specific breeds. But don't be deceived, recognizing that specialty breeds have their place, but they're not necessarily better foragers. I want hogs that produce excellent, well-marbled meat that forage well in my environment. Now, what kind of farrowing context do you have? I'm in Mississippi and I do not farrow in barns. My pigs don't even use the farrowing huts that I gave them years ago, so I got rid of them. I gave them a bale of hay to farrow in. Even in cold weather, it's what the pigs have preferred. Further, I'm not around to help the pigs farrow. If they can't do it by themselves, they have no business on my farm. I have had plenty of success to know that sows can farrow by themselves without needing any help. Nor do I have any intention of promoting genetics that need me to check on pigs every few hours while farrowing. Now let me say that I'll help a sow if necessary, but if she will be immediately culled after those piglets are weaned, and those piglets will not be bred. Now the most overlooked characteristic of breeding sows is their mothering instinct. And the easiest way to determine this is to note how many pigs a sow weans without assistance. This covers a variety of different traits. The most common issue I hear people talk about is mothers squishing their babies. If mothers squash babies, color. For so many generations, sows have farrowed in barns, farrowing crates, etc. And most people don't even know that you can select for good mothering instincts. Good sows will slowly ease themselves down when they're laying down. They'll offer a chance for their piglets to get out of the way, and if one doesn't get out of the way and she accidentally lays on it, she'll hear it screaming, get up, and move to a different location. If she just plops down or doesn't listen for a piglet screaming or ignores it, then she will squish them off. Now the exception is that during farrowing, even some of the best mothers will have had a squished piglet or two. Usually this is just a couple piglets lost in the first few hours. Now the other thing is I want our pigs, our sows, to be protective of their babies and the other babies in the herd. We have sows that will run over to protect any screaming piglets, whether it's theirs or not. In fact, our boar even comes over to protect them sometimes as well, and that's what I'm looking for. On the other hand, I don't want sows to charge us when we get close to their piglets. Now, if the piglets scream, yes, I want them to come chasing me. Now, on a side note, do not let people into the pen or to play with the piglets. Sows don't like that. Most importantly, very few people, even many livestock handlers, do not know how to read animal behavior very well. Especially kids, they don't have any common sense, and it's easy to create a situation where a sow charges people because the people don't know how to act around livestock, or where the sow or piglets are harmed because of it. Now, fertility is important. After all these factors, if a sow has 19 piglets but only weans 3 piglets in her system, then fertility is meaningless. If, however, a sow farrows 10 and weans 10, then the less fertile sow is by far the one I want to keep. Now, I also look for good pairs of teats for the sows. Most of our current sows have 12 teats, and we are in the process of selecting for 7 pair or even 8 pair of working teats. Our best sow, Midnight, is consistently weaned 12, then 11, then 12. For the first time this year, she farrowed 17 and actually weaned 13. Remember that most piglets nurse from the same teat each time. Now, this isn't always true. For example, when Annie, our Mangalitsa over here, weaned her first piglets, we pulled them off of her. She actually adopted piglets from another sow. This was good because those piglets grew faster and it put less strain on their mother in terms of body condition. So it's not a universal rule that pigs use the same teat, but for the most part, if a sow has 12 working teats and 14 piglets, you're going to lose 2 piglets. Therefore, teat count is important. We also are looking for sows that produce a lot of milk for their piglets. They need to be able to consume lots of nutrition and convert that to milk so that they don't lose body condition when feeding their piglets. Of course, all of this assumes that you're looking for pigs and sows with strong feet, strong backs, well muscled. If I have to bottle raise a piglet, I generally do not want to breed it. If it needs lots of medications, I don't want to breed it. Of course, there are exceptions to all of these rules. But these are the traits that I look for in my breeding programs. They're very different than what a lot of people breed for. Now, the question you may have is, how do I find good breeding genetics? And that's a subject for the next video. Stay tuned, take care, and have a great day.